It was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags.
It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags. Today we are discussing the Jaguars' victory, which is nice to say, against the New England Patriots in London. Like I said, my last episode came out a little bit too late because when we lose that badly, it's tough for me sometimes. I get a little upset, and sometimes I can't talk about it for an entire week, which is not a great look if you want to be a podcaster. So I apologize. I will get better because love to say the Jaguars aren't going to lose, that badly this year anymore, but we do face the Lions in Detroit. So let's start with our win, though. We beat the Patriots, the worst team in the league. So that's fun. There's a lot to feel good about. It's tough because the game started horribly. Patriots were in complete control. Went up 10-0. And we were all the fans were all thinking like, oh no, not again. If we lose to the Patriots, this is going to be the worst thing ever. But then everyone kind of figured it out and we started to really get cooking. Brian Thomas Jr. is the key that unlocks our offense. Every time Trevor hits him for a big shot, good things happen after that. And Trevor just looks in rhythm. Like, Trevor is one of Tony Baselli and Pete Prisco go at this a lot. And it kind of depends. So Tony Baselli has a philosophy that give your guys some layups and then hit the big shot, right? Like, don't come out for the big shot right away, because if you miss it a couple of times, that can ruin Trevor's confidence, and then it'll be hard to get the offensive going. Pete Prisco thinks that Trevor's confidence comes from hitting those big throws, because those big throws get him into the rhythm. That's what he likes to do. I think it's kind of a combination of both. Like, Trevor is always going to be at his best pushing the ball down the field. He's never going to be a dink and dunk kind of quarterback. He just doesn't really it's not that he doesn't have it in him. He gets in a rhythm from pushing the ball down the field, right? That's the rhythm that he gets into. Now he can do short passes and things like that. But I really love to see the way they were attacking the middle of the field this time. I think Trevor is better at just throwing in the middle of the field too. You notice every single big play when he hit to Ingram, when he hit Kirk, those chunk plays, when he hit to Brian Thomas Jr., it was all in the middle of the field. And I think, first of all, our run game was great behind Tank Bigsby. And I think our offense is designed. You don't really want an offense that has to rely on chunk plays, because those aren't easy to come by. But now that we have Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor loves pushing the ball down the field. That's what he does best. Our offense is one that's going to need those chunk plays. Like, we kind of need those chunk plays to keep going. Doug Peterson said his philosophy is throw to score and run to win. And that's literally what we do. That's what we do best. But in order to do that, number one, our offensive line has to give Trevor time. Number two, our receivers have to be able to get down the field and, catch the ball, which Brian Thomas Jr. has been phenomenal at. And number three, we have to have a good run game, because those deep shots often get set up off of play action, where you fake the run and then Trevor has a minute he can curl out and then set his feet and then make the throw. So we saw all that and more against the Patriots. The biggest complaint that I have is, first of all, is again, we didn't necessarily have to dominate from the jump, but this was just like the Bears from last week, right? It's like the visiting team in London had control for the first quarter, and the second quarter, the home team just completely took over. And, I'm glad we took over the game. Trevor's shot to Brian Thomas Jr., that's what changed the momentum of the game for us. Like, if he doesn't hit that, we are close to almost losing, because once we did that, we put our foot on the brakes and never stopped. So that was really encouraging to see. And it's good to talk about a win. We still have, and I think part of it too, Tank Bigsby is a fantastic runner between the tackles. And people are starting to talk about this running back controversy in Jacksonville. It's the same thing that happened with James Robinson and Travis Etienne. There is no running back controversy. You can have two running backs that do different things that are both good, especially when they're both on rookie contracts. It doesn't mean that Tank is coming for Travis Etienne's running back one job, and it doesn't mean that Travis Etienne isn't going to be the starting running back anymore. To me, whoever you want to be the starting running back, this the only the number one thing for who should be the starting running back is who is better in pass protection. Because I've noticed that's what we've been missing ever since we got rid of James Robinson. That's partly why our protection hasn't been as good, because James Robinson was a thick, 30, sturdy, and smart guy who could pick up the blitz, right? Travis Etienne is not big enough to pick up the blitz. Every time someone comes in, corner, like Travis Etienne can outrun people, but every time a corner's coming in for a blitz or a defensive lineman, anything, he can't block him. He gets knocked over every single time. Go look at the tape and tell me I'm wrong. And that's because Travis Etienne's not built that way. Now, Tank Bigsby is built like he could be that guy. Like he could, because if it's a run play on first down and they're bringing a blitz, even if it's not a run play, you still probably have one running back in there. So if you ask me, I'd rather have, if I'm doing three wides, one tight end, and one running back, and it's first down, and I see a blitz, right? But it's first down, and I have Travis Etienne next to me. Well, I know that when that blitz comes, Travis might be able to slow him down, but he's not going to stop him, right? If I have Tank, if again, but can Tank block? Because there's also a technical aspect to blocking. So that's the part of his game that I'd work on next. And whoever gets that gets the RB1 job. Because the RB1 job just means who's the default running back when Trevor is in, their base offense and he's looking around the field to see what he sees, right? And so if he sees a blitz, he needs a guy he can say, hey, you can pick that up, right? And know that he's still going to have time to hit one of his three wide receivers. A guy that's not going to get blown up and thrown on the ground. So that's the number one requirement to me for who should be running back one. If that makes it Tank Bigsby, then that's Tank Bigsby. That doesn't mean Travis Etienne is bad. Like people, and it's so annoying because like people don't go to the Lions and be like, oh, are they going to trade Gibbs or Montgomery? No, they keep them both. They have Gibbs and Montgomery, and they switch off depending on what they want to do in the game. Now, if I'm doing a running play and I want a chance to break one off for a long game, I might put Travis Etienne because I know I'm going to run the ball. That's not going to change, especially if I'm doing a two tight end set. Then I might swap out Bigsby and put in Etienne to see if he can bust one off for a long one. Or if I want to run around the edge, because Travis Etienne is really good to go around the edge. If I want to go between the tackles, I'll put Tank Bigsby in. Or you can run two wide receivers, two running back sets with one tight end, and now they don't know, like, you could run through the tackles with Tank Bigsby, or you could run to the edge with Etienne. Or you could fake the run to Bigsby, let Etienne sneak out on the flat and hit him for a nice little screenplay. There are so many things you can do if you keep two players with different skill sets. Now, like I said, if this was James Robinson and Tank Bigsby, well, both of them are very similar in their running styles. So to me, that's redundant in having two of the same player. But everybody, let's stop this running back controversy talk about should we trade Etienne to Dallas or what could we get for him? I hate it. And all the talk about reporters being like, hey, Doug, is Tank coming for Travis's job? Everybody has different roles that they play. Tank can't really do Travis's job because he's not as good in the run game, and Tank is not as shifty as Etienne. He can make some really good cuts. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic cuts. But Etienne has like that scat back kind of Austin Eckler kind of feel to him, right? And that's valuable. That's fantastic to have. Keep them both, and try to go beat the Packers. And we should be looking to be buyers, not sellers at the deadline. Now, like there's some players I think that we could trade and get something back for. Chad Muma could work on a lot of teams now that Ventrell Miller has really come on. I don't think I would trade Devin Lloyd with Foye Oluokun coming back, but we do have three starting linebackers now. With Cam Robinson, there's a lot of offensive. Trading Cam Robinson would be quite a risk because has been fantastic having Walker Little. But Walker Little had a fantastic game against the Bears. The way he was blowing guys off of blocks and getting up into the second level was absolutely phenomenal. So I think it's enough to say that Little should, to me, what Little showed today, now again, it was against the Patriots, so you gotta take that with a grain of salt. But to me, what Little showed today was better than anything Cam has shown all year. So I would keep playing Little, even if Cam is healthy, and I would keep playing Little until he looks poor, and then put Cam back in, if that's what you got to do. Because right now, again, our offensive line has been an issue, and yesterday, it wasn't. During that game, or when the Patriots game, it wasn't an issue. Now again, could that be because you're facing the Patriots? I mean, it's not like they have terrible players on their line. I mean, they got Christian Barmore, who just got the big contract. They got Keon White, who's starting to come on for them. But like this is a defensive line that doesn't have Matt Judon anymore. It's not the same at all. So all of that kind of makes a difference. Now, if as we approach the trade deadline, if I'm Doug, honestly, if I'm looking to make a trade, again, I want to be a buyer. I think I'm looking towards safeties. I like how they put Darnell Savage at safety and sat Antonio Johnson. I'm sorry, he just hasn't been as good. And I'd hate to bench Andre Cisco. And I think having Andrew Wingard and Tashawn Gibson come back will help a lot to kind of give us some more depth at safety. Because again, I don't want to sit Andre Cisco. He had a great pick against the Bears. I still think he could be a ball hawk. A ball hawk. He should have had another pick um against the Patriots. But the issue is there's like even on that one play where Josh Allen weirdly dropped into coverage, which is another thing. Don't understand what Ryan Nielsen's doing there. Why have him drop into coverage? He rushes a passer. Sure, you want to switch it up and keep the blitz coming from different areas, but you can only do that if your guys can actually drop back in coverage. And Josh Allen, and that led to a touchdown, you know? And I'm sure we all would be saying like, oh wow, that was a great play call if it actually got the sack on 3rd and goal against the Patriots. However, we'd also be saying that was a great play call if Josh Allen got the sack and that guy was covered. So anyway, I say all that to say like again, even though again we were playing against the Patriots, on that play, Andre Cisco, like from the safety spot, that running back had to slow down a little bit to try to get out of the way of Josh Hines Allen. And to me, if you're a safety, that's when you come in and blow him up, right? Like as a heat-seeking missile. And we didn't see any of that from Cisco. And I remember watching that play and being like, you had a chance to keep him out the end zone. But it felt like he got there and slowed down and like waited to see if Josh Hines Allen was going to make the tackle. And then he's like, oh, okay, he didn't, so I'll try to go make it. It's like, I don't know what's going on in his head right now. He's in a contract year. At this point, he's going to be fortunate to end up on an NFL team next year if he keeps playing the way he's playing. So, I don't know what the solution is there. I think if I'm Trent Baalke, I'm looking to make a trade to fortify the secondary. Whether that's I think Tyson Campbell and Monteric Brown can be a starting duo, but I'm still looking and calling about guys like Marshawn Lattimore or Greg Newsome. It'd be even better to get a guy who could play safety and cornerback. That way we could put him into any position that's really suffering. With Tyson Campbell coming back, another week removed from that hamstring, this was a good week for him to come back because now against the Packers, he'll have another week to kind of work that hamstring and be up. So I feel better about our chances. But man, the Packers are a good team. The Packers are a good team. And also, Ryan Nielsen was switching out Darby and Campbell and Monteric Brown a lot, which was understandable from the standpoint that Tyson Campbell is just now coming back, still off of his hamstring. Give him a second to kind of come in. However, Monteric Brown has been playing way better than Ronald Darby. So from this point on, Ronald Darby sits until Monteric Brown plays as bad as Darby did earlier in the year. So I don't care what you paid him. It doesn't matter. He sits. Best players give us the best chance to win. Whoever's playing the best gives us the best chance to win. That's who you play. So Yeah, I mean this Packers game will determine if Jaguars become buyers or sellers. Trade deadline is November 1st. It's just that simple. People will be I see even fans asking us to trade ETN to Dallas, and I'm like, no, keep him. He's great. He is great. He can literally you can line up like people like the things that you can do with Travis Etienne still in your lineup. Again, when we look at the Lions, no one says Montgomery and Gibbs. Oh, that's a terrible. Oh, who's gonna be traded out of those two? No, they're two backs that are brought in for different. And Montgomery and Gibbs are more similar than Etienne and Bigsby. Again, if we have both running backs in the game and we're playing two wideouts and a tight end, ETN can literally run a route and get deep. He can run routes like a wide receiver. And that's a great way to switch up whatever they're doing. You can fake the handoff to Bigsby, let him pick up the blitz as well. And the next thing you know, ETN is halfway down the field because he's a mismatch for linebackers and safeties because there's very few that can keep up with him. And he won't get pressed at the line of scrimmage by a cornerback because he's starting from the backfield. Those are the things I'm talking about. That's the kind of and I think you get that by making Tank Bigsby the RB1. Because again, if he learns how to block or just to at least pick up a blitz, because usually blitzing you don't have to there's not as many moves involved when you're picking up a blitz because usually they just run at you. Like safeties and linebackers that blitz don't generally have like a whole bunch of moves. So Tank Bigsby just needs to go at them like he's running the football and just knock him over, right? Like that's all he needs to do. And if he can incorporate that in our game, he's RB1. I'm sorry. He's better at pass protection, and we need that. Trevor needs a guy who can pick up the blitz. It's just that simple. Um, so it's like it's hard to say if we play this way against that we played against the Patriots, against the Packers, we'll still win because if we go down 10-0 against the Packers, we're gonna lose. The Packers are good enough, are too good for us to do that, you know. And again, it's like, are we going to play this way against the Packers? Well, the Packers are a much better team. The chances of us playing that well, it's hard to know, right? And I mean, I heard Pete Prisco even talking about already trading Christian Kirk, and no, 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 I don't. The only people I would consider trading, Chad Muma, maybe Devin Lloyd. That's it. It's the only people I would consider trading, and Cam Robinson. Those are the only three. And I think you could be, if you're trading one of those, to me, you could be a seller and buyer because I still feel like I would feel like if we had at least beat the Browns and had 3 wins at this point, even though we have this gauntlet and even if we went into our bye 3-7, you still are like, okay, we can end the year 10-7 because the Jets don't even look that good now that they got Devontae Adams. And But since we only have 2 wins, we're 2-6. It makes and with the trade deadline, it makes the Packers game end up being must win, which is a terrible opponent that you want to face for a must win game. Like we thought the Bears were tough. Look, like okay, the Packers coming into town is going to be horrible. So, only thing we have is that it's at home, um, which can kind of help. But overall, it's going to be an uphill climb. It's going to be an uphill climb. So, I say all that to say, like, if we can just play our defense with our best players, we have a chance to get some good mismatches. Like the center and the right guard for the Packers, as Pete Prisco brought out, they're not that good. The tackles are very good. They're going to give Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen fits. But if Eric Armstead stays inside, we can really mess them up. And in fact, I would consider, if I'm Ryan Nielsen, because again, the best thing that you can do is get your best players on their worst players. So if I'm looking at the defense, again, this would work great if we had a third edge rusher. But if I can put Armstead and Trayvon Walker inside, because Trayvon Walker can rush really well from the 3 technique, and so can Eric Armstead. And now their, guard, center, and right guard have to deal with those 3, deal with those 2. you can put another edge guy on their best tackle and just so that way the tackle can't just leave him alone. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of use their tackle, whoever's playing their best tackle out of the two, he has to deal with, like Miles Cole. Just put Miles Cole on him all day and let him have to do with Miles Cole. Is Miles Cole going to get to the quarterback? Probably not. But it takes their best tackle kind of out of the game with a guy that's not as good. And now they'll have to block Eric Armstead, Josh Hines Allen, and Trayvon Walker. That's how I would switch up the defense if I was going to do that. Because again, that would allow my best players of my defensive line to get on your worst players on your offensive line. Because Josh Hines Allen, I still don't know if I trust him to rush from inside, but those other guys can. And again, the best left tackle can't help you double team Trayvon Walker, because if he does that, Miles Cole gets a free shot at the quarterback. And any pass rusher, if you give them a free lane to the quarterback, they're going to get home. So that's the kind of mismatches that I would be trying to create if I was Ryan Nielsen. Of course, he's probably going to switch guys out. We're probably going to see Tyler Lacey on the first touchdown play. And once I see that, I might even turn off the game. Who knows? I'm going to be absolutely just lost, lose it if that happens. This is why we got flexed out of Sunday Night Football in Philly, which to me, it's like, I can get it if it was like the Lions and the Vikings had a 4 o'clock slot, like they did this past. Like the Lions and the Vikings had a 1 o'clock slot. This should have been the Sunday night game, right? Because I don't even know who played Sunday night, but like Lions and the Vikings, that was a classic, incredibly good game. But the Vikings and the Colts, really? Like you flex this out for the Vikings and the Colts? We beat the Colts. Sure, they have a winning record, but do they really look that good? Have the Colts scored more than, besides against us, have they scored more than like 20, 25 points a game? Every single game they have, it's like a low defensive struggle. So that annoyed me because to me, you can't really say the Colts are better than the Jaguars. Just saying. Maybe that flexing was partly on the Eagles, but I think it was mainly on us. So that's a little annoying. I don't know if the players can use that to get fired up, but I definitely would because, that might be our last chance at playing. Like, if Monday night is our last primetime game, that's a horrible showing. And if we don't make the playoffs, we're not going to get any primetime games next year. The NFL is going to be like, oh, the Jaguars are another crappy team again. So no, no, no. We won't. Like, we were fortunate to get our 2 primetime slots this year. So say all that to say, we'll see what we can do against the Packers. Hopefully, Ryan Nielsen can do some creative stuff. Hopefully, Doug Peterson will have some creative things against the Packers. I think running the ball with Tank Bigsby is going to be a great way to keep things open. And I think the running game is, again, opening up so much. Brian Thomas Jr. and Tank Bigsby, like that's that's kind of our trio now. Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby, and Trevor Lawrence. And it's creating a nice opening because Tank Bigsby running so hard open things up because you kind of need multiple guys to get him down. So you almost want to stack the box when you see him in the game. But if you don't stack the box, Brian Thomas Jr. can run past your cornerback because you're going to need safety help to stop Brian Thomas Jr. Like Christian Gonzalez made a fantastic play, and Brian Thomas Jr. still caught that 60-yard bomb. Like if Christian Gonzalez was any lesser of a cornerback, Brian Thomas Jr. would have been a house call because he had him beat. And the ball was thrown perfectly because Brian Thomas Jr. didn't even have to stop his stride in order to catch it. And Christian Gonzalez, I will say that was a Herculean effort because he got beat off the line with his speed, but Christian Gonzalez had that makeup speed to at least get his arm in there. It still didn't matter, but he at least made the tackle, which again, to me, that's all you can ask of your cornerback. If you get beat and you have enough recovery speed, be in the perfect position, and if the receiver makes a play on the ball, he just made a better play at that moment. So that's kind of what, in years past, our running game was super good, but we didn't have any threats downfield. Or if we had threats downfield, our running game wasn't enough, so people would just play coverage. Now, if you play coverage, we can run all over you. If you stack the box, we can throw it behind you. We can get behind you. So it creates a nice, and that's the thing that Doug and Press have to keep learning how to explore and make sure that we can continue to take advantage of that. Um, I think Brian Thomas Jr., like just having him stretch the field, I'm sure he gets tired from time to time, but letting him stretch the field and making sure he's a consistent threat is the way to keep that going. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's impossible for us to beat the Packers. I picked us to lose at the beginning of the year, and I'd love to see the Jaguars get the home crowd a win. We should have beat the Browns. Out of all the teams that we should have beat this year, it should have been the Browns. That's the one. That's the when we if we miss the playoffs or anything, that's the biggest game that we're going to look at as that's the worst missed opportunity. It was at home. We had a chance. And again, if you ask me, if we keep our best players in the game for that entire game, we could win. But good to see Foye Oluokun and safety and Andrew Wingard are now back. And exciting news, make sure that you sign up for the Tailgate with Tony event for the Vikings game, which before this season, I definitely thought we were going to win, and now I'm not as sure. But make sure you sign up your tickets for you can get them from the Boselli Foundation. Tailgate with Tony is a special event that they do every year where, the proceeds go to the foundation, the Boselli Foundation, to help young men, young incarcerated men, like, kind of restore, get back into society, get back to what they know they want to be. It's a great cause to be a part of. I got a chance to take a picture with Fred Taylor and Tony Boselli last year, and he signed my hat this year. I mean, last year, which I wear every single. This is Tony Boselli's signature. So make sure you get your tickets for it. I'm going to be there. You can get a picture with Fred Taylor there. Asher Grodman from Ghost was there, and the live music was fantastic as well. So make sure you sign up. Make sure you get there. It's going to be in Metropolitan Park in November in Jacksonville. Should be a beautiful day to come out. Not too hot, and then we'll go watch and see maybe if we can snatch one from the Vikings at home. But in the meantime, never forget, as hard as it gets, never forget, it was always the Jack.